At a time of massive and unprecedented income and wealth inequality, the Republicans look around them and they say, wow, we got three people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Very richest people are becoming phenomenally richer. Working people are struggling. What's the solution? Well, obviously, the solution is to give massive tax breaks to the rich and make a very bad situation even worse.
What is up, Patriots? Welcome back to the channel. You guys, I just came across a clip that I had to share with you immediately. We've all seen Bernie Sanders doing his thing for decades. The finger wagging, the yelling about the 1%, the same tired socialist script he's been reading since the Cold War. It's predictable, it's exhausting, and honestly, it's out of touch with how the real world actually works. But today, he ran into a brick wall named Bernie Moreno. If you don't know Moreno, he's a guy who actually understands the American dream because he lived it. He's a businessman, not a career politician. And in this congressional hearing, he doesn't just disagree with Sanders. He absolutely dismantles, attacks the rich narrative with actual logic and common sense. I'm telling you, it is rare to see someone speak truth to power this effectively inside the halls of Congress. You're going to want to see how he uses his own background as a car dealer to expose the total hypocrisy of the Democrats' Inflation Reduction Act. Let's dive into the footage. Watch this.
It is apparently not good enough that the top 1% today own more wealth than the bottom 90%. That is rather phenomenal. But in my Republican colleagues' eyes, the wealthy and the powerful need even more help. 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%, just not good enough. We could do better than that. So not only should the very wealthy be asked to pay their fair share of taxes, the Republicans believe that we should give huge tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires.
I think we need to kind of go back in time for just a little bit, not quite as much as in Back to the Future. Let's just go back to 2020. There was an election in 2020. The Democrats gained control of the Senate and the White House. And what's been the result? During the 4 years of President Trump, his first term, it was never better for working class Americans. Real wage growth grew. The middle class was doing better. Our economy was doing fantastic. The Republicans had passed the TCJA, which gave tax relief to all Americans. And we received, and this is very important, the federal government received a record amount of revenue. So even though there was tax cuts for the wealthy was the headline. By the way, that line is as old as dirt, and it's totally false. While the tax rates were cut, tax revenue was at a record level. It would be fascinating if there was just one Democrat that acknowledged that we received a record amount of revenue in the federal coffers. Do you think to yourself, well, wait a second. Like, I'm a business guy. Like, if my revenue was at an all-time high and I was losing money, I'd say we have a huge expense problem. Like, oh my God, how could I get record revenue and yet have record deficits? Why? Because when you give Democrats control of our budget, what happens? I'll give you some examples. When my colleagues talk about how they defend the working class, I think the working class spoke pretty clearly on November 5th of 2024 and said, thank you, but no thank you. So what can happen in my old world of owning car dealerships? Mr. Chairman, you could walk into one of my dealerships, be a multimillionaire, pick out a beautiful custom-made Rolls-Royce Spectre where the audio system upgrade is $21,000. The logoed headrest in the back seat are $1,500. The umbrella with a logo could be 10 grand. You can lease that car. And thanks to the amazing and remarkable policies from the Democrat Party, the federal government will give you a check for $7,500. Think about that for just a second. That is a bill that became law called the Inflation Reduction Act, giving Rolls-Royce lease customers $7,500 lowers inflation, and every one of them voted for that bill. How did that bill become law, you ask? Did it get 60 votes? Rigorous debate? No. They did it through reconciliation. And Kamala Harris broke the tie-breaking vote so that multimillionaires could have their fifth vehicle parked in Palm Beach with a check for $7,500 thanks to the U.S. taxpayer.
Boom. That is how it's done. Did you see Sanders' face? He wasn't expecting a math lesson today. Look, here's the thing that drives me crazy about the socialist agenda. People like Bernie Sanders love to talk about fair shares and wealth inequality because it sounds good in a sound bite. But notice how Moreno immediately took us back to the Trump years. He reminded everyone that when you actually cut taxes and get the government out of the way, the middle class thrives. Real wages grew. People were actually keeping more of their hard-earned money. And Moreno hit on the biggest lie in Washington, the idea that tax cuts for the wealthy cost the government money. He pointed out the cold hard fact. Tax revenue hit record highs after those cuts. Why? Because when the economy is booming, everyone wins and the federal coffers, as he called them, stay full. But the absolute best part, my favorite moment, was that Rolls-Royce analogy. Think about the irony here. The socialist Democrats, the ones who claim to be the champions of the working class, passed a bill called the Inflation Reduction Act that basically gives a $7,500 kickback to millionaires leasing luxury electric cars. Moreno laid it out perfectly. A guy can walk into his dealership, pick out a Rolls-Royce Spectre with a $10,000 umbrella. Yes, an umbrella that costs more than some people's first cars. And Kamala Harris cast a tie-breaking vote to give that guy a tax credit. That isn't defending the working class. That's a total scam. It's corporate welfare dressed up as green energy, and Moreno called them out for it right to their faces. This is why the working class turned their backs on the Democrats in 2024. People are tired of being lectured by career politicians who have never signed the front of a paycheck. They want results. They want growth. And they want someone who understands that the government's job isn't to redistribute wealth. It's to create the environment where people can actually go out and create wealth. Moreno didn't just win that debate. He showed exactly why the socialist experiment is failing. We need more people in Washington who can talk common sense like a business owner, not a sociology professor. What did you guys think? Did Moreno shut him up or what? Drop a comment below. I want to hear your take on that Rolls-Royce example. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep fighting for the truth. I'll see you in the next.